Do you ever wonder where all the plastic that is used, then thrown away, goes? In a perfect world, it all gets recycled. But the reality is that that isn't always true. There's 8.3 billion tons of plastic in our world today. But by switching to metal straws, using reusable bags instead of plastic ones, and just recycling plastic products, we can reduce climate change significantly. According to the article, Plastics and Environmental Health, The Road Ahead, there are four major options for disposal of plastics: landfilling, incineration, recycling, biodegradation. There's four options that we have to do like our plastic instead of just it going in the trash and it going to landfill and never getting reused or recycled. When we switch to metal straws, you might think that it's a really small change in the world. But there's an average of 175 billion straws made a year. That's the estimate. According to National Park Service, in the US alone, the average rate of use is 1.6 straws per day per person. So by switching to metal straws, we can reduce that number and save an average of 600 straws a year. And again, that might seem like a small number, or one person making a change doesn't have a huge impact on our world. But if one person does it and they show another person to use metal straws and they encourage people to switch, then it just has a domino effect, and that's how we can make a change, and that's how we can help do our part in helping reduce climate change. Because plastic straws end up in the ocean and they end up just everywhere because they're so small. People don't really think about them. They just throw them. People use them to sip their drink. That's it. And then they get thrown away. But we don't, it's like we're like spoiled. We don't need straws to drink our drink. We have our mouths. And that's crazy because it's plastic we don't need in our world. But the alternative is using metal straws. And yes, they cost, I would say, an average about $14 for a pack of 3. But they're reusable and they're even portable now. That you can put them on your keychain, you can take them anywhere you go, and you don't ever have to worry about, oh, if you have a straw. The fact is that plastic straws, they add up quickly. And you're just one person, but there are so many people in the world that use straws. And if the daily average is 1.6 per person per day, and that adds up to 600 a year, it's 600 times every single person in the United States, every single person in the world. It has a really big effect. And by switching, it's something so subtle, so simple, it can have a really big impact. Another simple way to reduce the amount of plastic in our world is by buying reusable bags instead of always using plastic bags. So when you go to the grocery store, you buy your groceries and you use plastic bags. So every time I go to the grocery store, I go for a good amount of stuff and I come back home with at least 6-7 bags. And instead of just throwing those bags away, I like to reuse them for trash in my kitchen. But an even bigger step is to reduce the amount of plastic we use by switching to reusable bags. So every time I would go to the store, I would buy a new bag, let's say from Target or HEB, and then I would just use the same bag over and over, so I don't have to worry about them using plastic bags. I can just use the ones I buy, and it's convenient. They're durable, they're sturdy, they hold all my groceries. I don't have to worry about what I'm gonna do with those other plastic bags. And it just really helps the environment, because when plastic bags don't get recycled, they again end up in the ocean, and our ocean is what really gets affected by our trash and our plastic, because everything just blows into the ocean, and animals don't know what to do with that. They ingest them, they get stuck in them, their little fins, and they don't know how to get out of that, and then they eventually die. So if we continue to be reckless with our plastic, we endanger our animal, endanger our water, and it's not okay. The last thing that can really make a big change is simply just recycling. The use of plastic is inevitable. I do not think we'll ever stop using plastic, but we can make a difference by properly disposing of it. So let's say you don't switch to metal straws and you don't have reusable bags, but what you can do is change the way your plastic is used. So we're always going to have plastic. That's just the reality. But when we recycle our plastic, it goes and it gets reused. So instead of making new plastic and letting more chemicals into our earth, and which is what affects the climate change, we can just recycle the plastic that we have currently, and that way we don't have to make any more, which is so smart. And it's crazy because these things are so simple. You're asking people to just put it in a different bin. Instead of putting it in the brown bin that they have at home, they put it in the blue bin that they have at home. And it even has instructions on the bins as to what should go in them. Everything is so simple. We just have to do our part and recycle, do little things like switching to metal straws, use reusable bags. Recycling is easy. It just takes a little bit of time, but it's when you're helping the earth where we live, our home, we have to remember that we like to think that earth is going to last forever, but that's the way we're going and the path we're taking. That's not completely true. Every day that we don't do climate friendly, economic friendly things, we're hurting the earth and we're hurting our resources. And one day, maybe not soon, but sooner than we think, we're gonna run out. And then when we get to that point, it's gonna be so much harder to reverse it than it is right now, when we can make a change.